Good morning. Thanks for joining me today. We have 5 cards for today's tarot. The opening card that we have is the Five of Pentacles, which was paired with the Sun. So we have that as a beneficial balance for this card. The challenge that we're facing today is the Eight of Pentacles. The way we're going to get through the challenge is the Temperance card. And the overall outcome for the day is the Fool. So if you work with tarot cards and these cards look a little different to you, it's because I actually hand drew them as part of my apprenticeship. I'm in the process of getting them printed so I can use them in workshops with people and also offer them for sale because I've had people ask me about them. So if you're interested in that, reach out and let me know. That aside, let's go ahead and jump into today's tarot. These opening cards here. So when I pull my cards every day, I lay out all of the 78 cards and I let my hands drag across them. That way they can kind of pull out whichever card is in that position. And when I grabbed this card, the Sun card kind of flew out behind it. So we have these 2 cards in this position today. And we see these 2 figures in the foreground and they look like they've been going through some kind of trial in life. And yet there is also this stained glass window in the background. So being that this is a number 5 card, it's telling us that we have choice over how we are seeing some kind of hardship or loss that we've been going through, because these people are outside of the facility that has this stained glass window, right? They feel a sense of loss or rejection or sorrow in some way. It's like as if there's been some kind of hardship that we've been kind of working with in a lot of ways. And 5s remind us that we do have choice in the matter. You know, like there's this saying that we should really just be willing to go out and fail rather than hesitating to even engage because we feel like we're going to fail. And the reason that is because you learn in applying yourself. You learn through the activity, you learn through the experience. And so we have to be willing to go through an experience to learn from it. And so what can we actually gather from this? And consider that because it was paired with the Sun, there's some cyclical nature to this, and the Sun is the most beneficial card in the deck. So it is quite likely that whatever you feel a sense of loss around was actually, it's going to steer you in a better direction. And looking at this card, we see this person peeking over this little fence and this other person peeking back at them. And so we're able to see these 2 sides of our own nature and how we get engaged. And when the Sun comes out and we can see that in ourselves, it's a really useful understanding. So try not to be so hard on yourself. And that might sound easier than it is actually done. And yet I do encourage you to look for the one grain of, the one pearl in that irritation, right? Because pearls are made from irritation, but they are of value. So how does that irritation, how does that loss actually bring you to something that's actually quite more valuable? We are working with that today. And also consider that we just went through a full moon, and so we're going through this time period where we are letting go and we are releasing things that aren't useful, much like, we see less of the Sun's reflection on the moon, and so the moon looks as if it is getting to be lesser and lesser of light. It's this waning quality that actually we can also use to our benefit to let go of things that are no longer serving us. And I do actually think that this way of looking at our lives doesn't serve us. So what is our challenge today? Our challenge today came in as the Eight of Pentacles, which is pretty telling considering that we started the day with the Five of Pentacles. So the Eight of Pentacles is the apprentice craftsman. They are refining their skills. They're putting energy towards something that's going to take a bit of time because it's an 8 as a number, right? Which is infinity and cycles. And so it's quite likely that this identification that we have with this situation here, wherever we feel a sense of loss and disappointment, is actually preventing us from putting our energy to this activity that we are trying to refine and build. And so it's like we have a hard time putting our energy and effort towards this thing because our energy and effort is too busy looking down at our feet. Now, the way that we're going to get through that card is Temperance. So this is a major arcana. We have 2 that came in, actually 3 that came in for today. We have the Sun, Temperance, and the Fool. So Temperance is a card that is associated with Jupiter, and Jupiter expands things, and it is considered the Santa Claus of the zodiac because it's the sun behind the sun, and it brings this expansive quality that brings help wherever it lands in the zodiac. And so considering that this card showed up as our way to get through our challenge, it's asking us to look at the bigger picture of things and look at what you actually want to create. And something that I've been working with in my meditations, in my sittings in the morning, is actually sitting with the aspect of me that has already created what I'm working on, so that there's an anchor there, you know, so that when the mind goes to this sense of, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. I don't have enough means to do what I need to do or what I feel like I need to do. There's this expansive quality that gets a bigger picture of it, you know, because consider, like, if you were to look at like your whole last year, right, and pick one situation that didn't go well, and if you fixated on that the whole year, how much energy do you think that would steal from you? And yes, I said steal. Although we give it to it quite willingly. It's almost like we trade it off, right, without anything in exchange except for tension and angst. So why do we do that? I don't know. Why do we do that? We're learning, and these experiences are helping us by way of reflection for us to learn and for us to expand our point of view, expand our outlook, and ultimately get a clearer picture of what it actually takes. So we see that this person is sitting here. They have these 2 vessels and they're pouring them at a weird angle, right? It's almost as if they're defying gravity. And so this is a card of alchemy. It's also a card of visualization. As you can see, that they are visualizing. They start with one idea and then they see the balance of it. They see what it looks like in ideal situation, and then they see how to stabilize it. And this is how we go from the 1 to the 2 to the 3 to the 4. So what does it take to stabilize your idea? We've been working with that energy quite a bit. And also realizing that, you know, this is an idea I've mentioned before, and it's a lot of the idea behind my orbs that I create, which is there's so much potential in the universe that we really limit that potential if we stay in this place of the 5 of Pentacles. And we realize that the sun brings enough light to every flower wherever it's planted. The whole world is driven by these cycles of changes and seasons, and it affects us too, right? There's nothing that is fixed in that way. So take yourself back to your last year, and if you had that one little irritation, how can you make that into a pearl? What can you gather of value from it because you turned it over and over and over and over and over and over again? And how did that bring you some sense of help or understanding? And really, you know, this card, being that it's governed by Jupiter and Sagittarius, it brings us back to that sense of like our higher calling and our search and our connection to not only our higher self, but like that which we consider divine, God, gods, whatever you believe in, you know, we are connected to that. And there is an infinite amount of energy and possibility in this world that we live in. So can you have some kind of understanding that everything is in motion. And even though you don't see things that are cropping up out of the ground just yet, because it's February and you live in the Northern Hemisphere, maybe you live in, Oregon, and things are cropping up out of the ground already. It all depends on where you're at and your perspective. And ultimately, everything is in motion. So if you connect to that space, we can realize that there's something much bigger coming in. Which brings me to our final card, the Fool. So the Fool is telling of some unexpected, unavoidable change that is coming up. And considering this card is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is sitting in Taurus and has been for a couple of years, we've all been going through a lot of change, and a lot of change in our value systems and our financial systems and our agriculture and all the things that Taurus governs. And this has been affecting all of us. And so consider how much everything in motion has been working for this chance in history, for you, your own personal history, for you to embark on the journey of a lifetime. And consider that the Fool is walking out into the unknown, but they know that they have the breath of God that is inspiring them. And so this idea, this project, this thing that you're trying to manifest, it's going to shift everything. It really is. And, if you look back and reflect, a couple years down the road to last year, the year before, you'll notice that you have totally evolved and your life has totally shifted as well. And it all comes down to, can we make the effort? Are we willing to make the effort? And can we see with clarity where we're going? Because it's time that we set off on that journey. It will bring a lot of change. And it's quite likely that wherever you were at a couple of years ago, as much as right now it feels like that was like the perfect place, you're moving towards something better. But it does take work and effort to show up. And you got to look at the horizon instead of looking down. I send you a good wish today. I hope you're well. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. Mwah.